Okay, we're going to talk about utilizing animation within Flash to add some engagement to our content of this navigation. So the first thing I'm going to do is a little intro. A lot of times you'll see a build sequence. The navigation will essentially build itself in front of your face, and that introduces the interface and the navigation, where the buttons are, etc. So we're going to do that first. Okay, let's take a look at the finish example. So you can see there's a little build sequence. I like to put my intro in its own scene. That way it's separated out from the main content. Makes it a little cleaner when it comes to working. So we're going to go ahead and do that for this project, or this lab. Alright, so our working model here. So if we look at scenes, I've got one intro and then one content. Essentially they're identical. So I did one first, then I duplicated it to build the other one. Alright, so here's the intro. First thing I'm going to do is animate the top and the bottom bars in. So that's pretty easy animation. I'm just going to hide everything else, except for those two. There, top curtain, bottom curtain. And I want these to come in staggered. This whole thing kind of comes in staggered. Part first, bottom part second. So we're going to look at that. About 5 frames. So I'm going to get some frames at 5. And I'm going to cap these off. I'm just going to press F6 after those. That way I'm separating the animation from the finished product, or from the finished position. So create motion tween. Right now I'm in the ending position, so I want to be at the start position. I had to zoom in. Alright, because you can see these are going in reverse. So if you're in that position, if you've done it backwards, you can right click or control click and go down here and say reverse keyframes, and that will reverse your animation. So now we're starting from the top and going down to the bottom. Okay, we're going to do it right on this bottom one. So create motion tween, go to the beginning, put it at the beginning spot, move my playhead and move that up to the ending location. Which is 450. And I want those staggered. I want the first one to come in and the second one to come in. So I'm just going to grab this. I'm going to click, hold, and drag all of these frames. I'm not going to click and let go. I'm just going to click, hold, and drag. Then I'm going to click again and then drag these so they're staggered. So this one happens, then this one happens. So if you test this, you're going to see the rest of the stuff on there. But really you just want to see that little animation happen. And that looks correct. Okay, now if you remember the completed version, each one of the buttons moves in a kind of a stair-stepped manner. The whole animation takes about 65 frames, so what I'm going to do is just go ahead and extend the timeline out till frame 65. So I'm just going to press F5 and everything's extended out. Now I don't see these until it's time for them to be seen. So what I'm going to do is just going to click, hold, and drag these just from logo down to home. Click, hold, and go ahead and drag those out to the end. That way I kind of got a clean slate. 1, 2, and then when we test, just see what we're wanting to see. So the next thing we want to do is animate the home button, or the first button. It's down here. Let's go ahead and zoom in on that. So there it is. And a keyframe is there on 65. And I want that home button to start on frame 24, so I'm just going to click and let go. If I want to move a keyframe, I can just click and let go, and then click and drag that. So let's Flash know that. So I want that to start around frame 20. There we go. Alright, it's on frame 20. Now, I want it to fade in, and then I want it to blink. So those are two different things. And I just know ahead of time, since I've done it, that the fade in part takes about 4 frames. So on frame 23, I'm going to press F6, and then just so I can separate that animation from the blink part. So now I want to add a tween here. So right click or control click, create motion tween, and I want to add one more frame, so I'm just gonna click over here and drag that. Seems right. Okay, so I'm going to animate its opacity or its alpha, so I'm going to click the object, I'm going to go to properties and go to color effect, alpha, and set that to say 10%. And then at this point in the animation, I'm going to click the object, so I move the playhead to the end of that animation, and then I want the alpha to be 100%. So I want it to fade in from 0 to 100%. Since I pressed F6 a while ago, it just has that the copy of that, or my in position. Now at this point I want this to turn white, but eventually it's going to turn back to orange. So I'm going to click on frame 26 and press F6. That way we can turn it to white, let it rest for one, and then back to orange. So kind of saves on work if we do things in reverse. So I'm going to click back here to that keyframe and go to properties and tint that white. So if we go here, tween in, tweens in alpha, quickly changes from white and then back to orange. So let's test that. There we go. So now that that's done, let's go ahead and do this section 1. So I put everything at the end of the animation, so I want to go ahead and drag that keyframe to its next position. And I want that animation to start right when that blink happens on the home button. So right when that turns white, that's when I want this to start fading in. And so that's on frame 24. So I'm going to click and press F6 on frame 28, and then click 2 after that and press F6, just so I can get kind of prepared for that next blink. And I could retween this, I could just reset up that animation, but Flash has the ability to copy animations, and since it's just fading in, it's not moving its X or Y, it's pretty simple to do that. So I'm going to go back to my home animation and right click and choose copy motion from the drop down menu, or control click, and I believe it's probably under edit timeline, copy motion, so any of those options. Right click and then just say paste motion, and then that has been pasted, so I didn't have to reanimate that. Now at this point I will have to just retint that white, so it's fading in and then white. Now right at this point in time, that's when I want the little line to appear, so I'm just going to drag that line right there, and you're going to want to finish the rest of the buttons and the nav at the top. So just look at the completed version, the intro part, and just finish out that intro.